So hello, we have another challenge here against already quite high rated player, almost 2200. So he's playing the Smith-Morra gambit against the Sicilian defense. So I will just play the most principled way of just trying to grab the pawn and trying to survive, let's say, in the upcoming battle. So this opening is really about fast development. White sacrifices one pawn, but he gets some quite significant lead in the development of his pieces. And this is a very useful thing to do in a blitz game, where it's quite difficult to find very precise moves when you have little time to think. So playing such gambits are a lot of the times a very useful weapon. So he's just playing very normally. I think I'll just develop with bishop e7. Yeah, looks sensible enough. Now usually what white does is he playing his rook to d1, trying to put some pressure on the d file, but he decided to first develop his bishop to f4. This is also quite standard. So black is having a pawn up, but once again my opponent have some development lead. So I'm wondering whether to castle short or should I play some other move. I really find it hard to imagine that I could avoid the move short castle in the long run, but I have one more idea in mind which is a bit slow, so I'm wondering if it's very wise. So my idea is actually maybe to play my knight to d7 and to try to get my knight on the e5 square. But that's a bit longish, that's for sure. Also, I don't want to play my pawn to e5 because then I am opening up his bishop on this diagonal. This is quite a critical position. So this is why I'm allowing myself to think a little bit longer than I would do in a regular situation. Let's play queen to c7. It's a bit unpleasant because he will put his rook on c1 one day, and it will be looking at my queen on c7. I think I have one idea. Let's play queen a5. So it took me some time to find this move, but now my idea is simply to block with my knight on e5 whenever he plays his rook on to d1. So I'm not completely sure about the correctness of this move, but it's surely a sensible idea. Because obviously I don't want to give up the pawn so easily. White sacrificed the pawn for a lead in development, and if white will just regain his pawn with no, let's say, big price for it, so he will probably have the advantage. Now I think I can castle. once again, it's a kind of a battle for the initiative. So white is kind of trying to prove that he has enough attack or initiative for the pawn, and black is trying to catch up as quickly as possible. So here I want to finish my development, so bishop d7 comes to mind, trying maybe to put my bishop on c6. Let's do it. So my position is a bit cramped here, but on the other hand, it's quite solid, so it's not like white having an immediate attack on me or anything. So now I got my problematic bishop to a good square on c6, and I think I'm quite close to consolidating my pawn advantage. So white is really is the one who needs to prove his compensation right now. On my next moves, if white will not do anything too special, then I will just try to finish my development, maybe rook to c8, maybe the other rook on d8. And after finishing my development, I will already see what to do next. Okay, he played knight to d4. So he wants to put pressure, perhaps, on my bishop on c6. So I think I will just develop my rook on c8, even though I'm allowing some tactics on the e6 square. I think I should not be worried too much about this. Now let's play rook c8. Now he can take my pawn on e6 and he will get my rook on c8 in exchange for 2 pieces. But on the way he will lose all of his initiative. He would give up 2 of his strong minor pieces, so I'm not too afraid of this. Now if he takes my bishop on c6, I can always recapture with the rook if I wish. So I don't see any problems there. Yeah, he took my bishop. Now I can take also with the pawn, but I like taking with the rook because this way I keep my position quite solid. Also the rook overprotect the pawn on d6, which is also nice. I played bishop g3. Perhaps he is preparing the move pawn to f4, trying to chase away my knight from this central square. This is a sensible idea. Let's see, what can I do? I can play my rook on c8. I kind of like this move, finishing my developing and preparing the move knight to c4 in response to f4. And let's do it, I kind of like it. So now if he plays f4, I'm ready to play my knight to c4. So I don't want to yes, knight to f4, knight c4. Now let's see if he has something concrete, because the move f4 also slightly compromises his king position along this diagonal, so I might have some annoying checks for him. So let's see what he does. now his rook on d2 is obviously under attack, so yeah, he took it. Now the critical move should be the pawn to e5, attacking my knight. And then it would be a tricky job actually to find a good square for this knight to retreat. Probably I will have to retreat backward on e8. But I think white has to do something like this, yeah, e5. Now I probably have to take it. Or I can also play knight to e8 immediately. But do I really get anything by doing so? This I'm not completely sure. Maybe I slightly misplayed my position because I don't think I needed to allow this kind of e5 break. I don't want to get my pieces into passive positions like this, but maybe I already don't have a choice and I'm kind of forced to go this way. Let's think. So my main, let's say, candidates are either knight to e8 immediately, or taking on e5 and then playing my knight to e8. Both have their pros and cons. Let's play knight e8. I'm really not too happy about this move, but the reason I don't want to take on e5, it's not to allow his rook to penetrate on the 7th rank. So now he's actually allowing my knight to go back to the game. And now the tactical point behind this was that if he now takes my knight on d6, and then after the bishop takes, he takes with the other rook, then in the end of this variation I have queen c5 check, winning back his knight, his rook rather, on d6. So I think now he's kind of regretting taking on d6, because now that my knight was kind of released from his prison on e8. So I think black actually is having a very good game here. My knight is ready to jump to f5 on the next move. Yeah, he played his bishop on f2. I think now I can jump with my knight on f5, and it should be quite solid on this square. Yeah, I also have some alternatives, but I don't see a good reason not to do it, so let's play knight f5. This looks like a very stable square for the knight. It could also only be chased away by such a move like g4, yeah, which he does. But this is a very risky move. It's exposing his king position permanently. So let's play knight h4. So yeah, my knight is a bit kind of dancing around the board. But this is not too problematic for me, because at the end of the day he will find a good haven. I played his rook to d7, sorry, attacking my bishop. Now I have two choices which I think are quite good. So the first one is to drop my knight on g6 with the idea to protect my bishop on e7 and also to attack the pawn on f4. The other one being just bishop to c5, but I think bishop c5 is slightly risky, because then I might have some issues with my back rank. So I think I'll go for knight g6. This is probably the safer move. I'm threatening now to take his pawn on f4. Now for sure, in the first chance, I will get some lift for my king. But for now, white has some immediate issues with his pawn on f4, which is the first thing that he needs to take care of. So now my opponent is having quite a long thought, because it's obviously is a very critical moment in the game, because if white is not creating any, let's say, immediate troubles for me, then obviously black will consolidate his pawn up advantage. So he played his bishop on e3. Let's see. So what does white threat here? Probably just wants to protect his pawn on f4. Now I think I can do all kinds of stuff, but let me just make the most human move in the position, just to play h6 and to forget about all of the back rank issues that I have right now. He played very quickly queen to d3. Now I very much would like to exchange some pieces, so I'm thinking bishop c5, it's a good move. Let's do bishop c5. Now the point is that if he takes my rook on c4, then I take his bishop on e3 with a check, and I capture his queen on c4 afterwards. And the reason I want to exchange a lot of pieces is because, first of all, I have a pawn up, and also I'm a bit cramped with my pieces, so it would take off some of the pressure on my position. He took my pawn on b7. So he is really worried about being a pawn down, but I don't think it's a very good move, because now I can take his pawn on f4 with a gain of tempo on his queen. Now I think I'm going to start my counterattack on him, because his king is no less safer than mine. He's actually, all of those g4, f4 moves compromised his king position quite a bit, so I'm thinking that now he needs to be very careful. He played his queen to d2. Now I can grab another pawn with a check, which would be the most obvious move that I could make. But do I have an even stronger move that I can do? Probably I might have some other moves which are good, but I'm once again quite low on time, so let's be practical. Let's take another pawn with a check. And now let me play rook takes g4. I think it's quite safe to take another pawn. it would be already 3 pawns up for me. Let's take another pawn. So now his king is completely exposed. He has 0 defending pawns and also not too many defending pieces. And the main tactical point that he cannot take my knight on h3, because then I will take his bishop on e3 followed by queen h5 checkmate. So this variation is really emphasizing the fact of how his king is, of how exposed is his king. So it's really kind of the ball is in his hands. He plays knight to d5, trying to complicate things. Now this is a tricky move. So the knight is hanging, but I think I will just exchange the queens. This is a check also. Now, regardless of how he takes, he took with the bishop, but I think this is a mistake, because now, rather than taking his knight, I think I will make an intermediate move. Knight to f2, attacking his rook on d1. And I think his pieces will actually start dropping right now. I don't see a very good way for white to defend everything. So he played rook to f1. Let's see. So now I think I can just take his knight. So I'm being a piece and 3 pawns up, and I think bishop d6 is actually a checkmate. Yeah, a good moment to checkmate. So the knight is controlling all of his escaping squares. So yeah, very nice. I think I played a decent game. So I will not analyze this game this time because I really have to go now. So thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.